أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Anything else they could say?
And also, remember the Quran was, it said, follow God and follow the Quran and the Prophet. So there are some who argue that it's only limited to the time of the Prophet. And you said there's no evidence that suggests that it's not applicable for us as well.
Yeah.
What if they point to the Hadith where the Prophet said, "Do not write down my Hadith," and then they do it in conjunction with that verse and say this shows that the Hadith is basically only for the time of the Sahaba?
Good. That's a good question. I mean, first and foremost, if they point to a Hadith, I say your
position from your own.
No problem. But I would say that it's okay, fine. I would say, but first and foremost, are we looking at the Hadith or not, right? But anyway, no problem. Let's look at the Hadith. In the beginning, we know in the Meccan period, the Prophet ﷺ forbade the people from writing his Hadith. That's true, and the reason why is very clear. Is because if people were writing down two things, the Hadith and the Quran, there could be a mix-up. So to keep the Quran very pure, or the narrative of the Quran very pure, that was the case. But if we're looking at the Hadith, we know also that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, afterwards, he told the people to write. And the evidence of that is in Bukhari, where Ibn Abi Shah, there's a person, it's called Uktub li Ibn Abi Shah. There's a person called Ibn Abi Shah. There was something the Prophet was saying, and the Prophet ﷺ, he told him, write for Ibn Abi Shah. So clearly there was if you want, abrogation. Clearly there was a different attitude. Why? Because it had been established. The Quran had been written. The Sahaba had been many. We are not in a situation of weakness. There were so many environmental factors which has changed, which no longer is there a requirement not to write the Hadith. And don't forget also that in the beginning, in the Meccan period, there was not that many commandments. And the famous Azhar of Aisha radiallahu anha, Azhar means a saying of a Sahabi or companion. So the famous Azhar of Aisha radiallahu anha, where she said that had the first things been revealed, don't do zina or don't drink alcohol, then no one would have believed in it. That's why we needed to have kind of like the heaven and hell verses come first. So it made sense not to even have heavy commandments in the beginning of Islam, because people by their nature, it's very difficult to get into a system 100%, first becoming a Muslim, and now you're already being tortured and boycotted. In addition to that, now you have to pray 5 times a day and distribute 2.5% of your wealth and maybe 30 days of Ramadan. It's pretty taxing. So in the beginning of Islam, we didn't have that many commands. There was less of a need and necessity for there to be written Hadith. But then afterwards, if we're looking and consulting the Hadith, which are Sahih, clearly the Prophet, he changed the attitude and the command when the preservation of the Quran, when people got into a system of how to write the Quran, to memorize it, to understand it, to read it in the prayers, that makes perfect sense. So if they use this, it's once again, it's a segmented type of evidence making. You take one bit and you leave another bit. We say no, but you have to be aware of these ahadith which are clear about writing. Like this is a good one here of Ibn Abi Shah, but there are others. Yes.
وفرق بين من تمشي بستر ومن تمشي بغير الستر فينا عباءتها على الرأس ارتياح لعين الناظرين الصالحين لعين الناظرين الصالحين يراها الناس جوهرة وتبقى كلؤلؤة بعين الناظرين ولم تبرز مفاتنها بيوم لأن النار مثوى الخاسرين لأن النار مثوى الخاسرين وقدوتها رسول الله دوما وتحذو حذو أم المؤمنين فحق لمثلها ألا تبادي إذا انتقدوا هداها الناقصين إذا انتقدوا هداها الناقصين